Hi, today we're going to be talking about solving literal equations. And basically, literal equations is just a bunch of letters, and you have to solve for a particular letter. Some of those equations may look like some familiar formulas. But what we're going to do right now is first just practice simplifying and solving for a variable where you are dealing with a fraction. So what I've told you before is to get rid of the denominator seems to be the easiest thing to do. So what we're going to do is multiply this by 4. So whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And of course, those 4's cancel out. So you have x is equal to 12 times 4 is 48. All right, let's look at letter B. So let's get rid of the denominator. So we're going to multiply that by 4. So those 4's will cancel out. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. So what we have left on the left side is a 3x equals 9 times 4 is 36. We're going to divide by 3. And 36 divided by 3 is 12. All right, let's go ahead and look at letter C. We're going to get rid of the denominator of 7. So that cancels out. We're going to multiply the 4 by 7, bring down the negative 2x equals 28. Then we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. And x is equal to negative 14. So that's just a little review on trying to get rid of a fraction that's your coefficient. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the process for solving a one-step, one variable equation, and then we're going to carry that over to the right side, which is on literal equations. So the first thing we're going to do here is and on problem 1a, so we're going to solve for x. So on this particular one, we're going to add 7 to both sides. So x equals 15. And then let's come over here to 1b. So now we want to solve for x. So that means we need to get rid of that minus c. So the inverse of a minus c would be a plus c. Whatever we do to one side, we must also do to the other. So x is equal to, you can either say a plus c, or you can say x is equal to c plus a. Either way. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at 2a. So this is multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. So x is equal to negative 3. So then over here on 2b, this is multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 3 because we want to solve for x. So we need to get rid of that 3. So x is equal to m divided by 3. All right, let's take a look at 3a. So if we're going to solve for c, we're going to divide by negative 2. So c is equal to, and you can just leave that as a fraction. We're not real picky on the form right now. Number 3b, so the same process. We're going to solve for c, so we need to get rid of negative 5. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 5. So c is equal to a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and so we're going to leave this as a positive fraction of h divided by 5. Let's go on to 4a. If we want to solve for x, now x is on the right side, but that's okay. We're going to divide, because it's multiplication, we're going to divide both sides by 7. So we have x is equal to 10/7. And again, we don't need to worry about converting it to a decimal. All right, solve for p over here on 4b. So if we're going to solve for p and it's multiplication, p times h, we're going to divide both sides by h. So therefore, p is equal to s divided by h. And then on the back side, we're going to solve for x. So remember, we worked with fractions earlier. We're going to multiply by 2, so those will cancel out. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And 1x is the same as just x, and negative 20 times 2 is negative 40. Here we're going to solve for g, so let's get rid of our denominator of 4. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. That cancels out. 1 times g is just g. And h times 4, anytime that you have a variable and a coefficient, the coefficient always goes first. So we're going to write that as g is equal to 4h. All right, solving for x. We're going to get rid of the negative 8. So we're going to multiply by negative 8. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So x is equal to negative 11 times negative 8 is 88. Over here on 6b, we want to get rid of that 3 so we can solve for y. So we're going to multiply by 3 and then multiply this by 3, y equals, and again, your coefficient goes in front of your variable term. 7a, now this is addition here. So we've been working a lot with multiplication and division, and so we're either dividing or multiplying, but this is addition. So we want to get rid of that 4. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So y equals, you can write this as x minus 4, just because the x is on top, I just put that first. Or you can always go negative 4, and that x is positive, so you'd have to put plus x. So either one of those would be fine. On 7b, we're going to solve for y. So we need to get rid of that 3x. So we're going to move the whole 3x term over. I know that seems kind of funny, but that's what we're going to do. So you can, sometimes if I'm moving like more than one term, I can show like this. So positive 3x, if you move it across the equal sign, it becomes a negative 3x. That is the same thing as, let me backspace. It's the same thing as if I went minus 3x, canceled that out. The only reason I hesitate showing it this way is I get a lot of people that want to subtract 3 from 6, but remember, these are not like terms. If the x was not there, then we could, okay, but it's there. If we had an x up here with a 6, then we could, but it's not. So therefore, the only way that we can write this is negative 3x plus 6, or you could also write it as 6 minus 3x. Okay? All right, there's just a few others that I kind of wanted to go over. This is solving equations involving more than one coefficient. All right, so on this number 8, we're going to solve for x. So first of all, it looks like we can just multiply 2 times 3 and get 6. So 6x equals 24. Divided by 6, and x is 4. Over here, on number 9, if we're going to solve for x, this is multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is division. Now then, we can actually divide by more than one term. So if we want to solve for x, we have to get rid of a and b. And so we can do that on the same step. So whatever you do to one side, you need to do to the other. So what happens are the a's cancel out here on the left and the b's cancel out. So you have x equals c over ab for your final answer. All right, and then over here on number 10, this is pretty similar to what we've done. We want to solve for x, so we just multiply by 2, multiply by 2, so we get 1x is the same as x. And remember to put your coefficient first, then your variable term.